All right. So I'm just going to use less words and just say, go ahead and
Mm.
enter into your process of becoming where you want to be for today's session.
Mm.
And I do invite in the highest of both of us to to be here, so that may receive everything that is meant for you to receive during this time. And feel free to begin the session however you feel would suit you best.
Thanks. Mm. Thanks for that, Michael. I needed that bit of a settling in and just a breath, because I just felt since lunchtime, it's been a bit of a, kind of a bit of a just a frazzly day. That kind of, I felt didn't turn out the way I kind of planned it. But interesting is kind of what's brought up, maybe what would be useful for me to look at. So it kind of connects in what I was saying just before we started there around homeschooling and all of that. Yeah, so I suppose just to give you the context of it, it's I have two sons, two great boys. One is 16 and the other is 14, and so at the moment they're both, working away from home and for school and online and all that. So that's fine. That's fine. But I suppose the thing that I kind of want to just maybe explore, just see where I'm at with it. Because I feel a little bit frazzled. I feel it with it, and it's that they're two very different boys, and that's great. But so one is the oldest guy is he's very like me. He with his schoolwork at the moment, and he's doing a transition year, so it's not an exam year, it's a kind of a year that's in between a junior cycle and a senior cycle, and it's more like work experience and doing all these different subjects to experience different things. So it's a kind of just a nice experiential year. But he's getting a huge amount of projects. Anyway, it's my it's my kind of how I'm relating to him, or what's going on for him is, he's super um, dedicated to his work and his, doing his projects and getting everything in. And he does such a great job. And he just, what I'm really seeing or recognizing now in him is that he puts how much, the lengths he goes to, which is wonderful on one side, but on the other side, then I'm nearly telling him, how to balance it, and that he doesn't need to do all of that, and he just seems to be in his room so much. And so I suppose I'm a little bit seeing some of me in him, because I would have been like that, and wanting everything to be really good and really perfect, and so I think I've kind of gone on the journey in my kind of development to realize that all that ego stuff around perfectionism and all that. But I'm seeing it now in him. So that's triggering stuff for me. So he's on one side, and then the other guy is he's 14, and he's like, it's like, you have two boys. It's always kind of like, it's opposite. So he is a bit the opposite. And he has no interest in school, no interest in study. And we found out a couple of years ago that he's dyslexic, and so he's really struggling with the understanding of the schoolwork. And then he gets, he gets frustrated and annoyed, and he gets really kind of given out about the teachers, and pushing all the blame out there, and it is tougher for him, much tougher, and he has difficulty to even understand the information first of all, and then how to process it, and then how to put it back out in a way that, in a learning system that's all about learning stuff off by heart memory and memorizing stuff that is, kind of nearly redundant in the life and times we have, with everything you need you can find on the touch of a button. So I know this is all feels a bit long-winded, but I suppose it's helped me to even process it out, that I suppose I'm struggling a little bit in how maybe how they are in the world and their challenges, and how I'm relating to them, and how I really want to be. So today was my son, who's 14, who's stuck with the dyslexia. I'm trying to let him be independent and work away. And today I just realized, a lot of stuff that he had just been pushing to one side and not getting done, and not addressing, and just barely touching. And now it's all piling up, and for me that's causing anxiety in me, and wanting him to do his best and be his best, but also knowing some of that is kind of my own stuff in there mixed in with it. So yeah, that's it just feels that it's kind of like, how can I support him, the two of them, with their own different struggles, and not get triggered by my own old stuff, I suppose, So I feel today that I just kind of, I suppose I had to spend a bit more time with Billy. He's the youngest, and seeing his frustration, seeing his kind of, part of his frustration, because it's like, he finds it hard, but then there's a part of it that's, but this is ridiculous, this is stupid, we shouldn't even be doing this, and we're never going to need to know this, and the teachers are stupid, and and I'm getting frustrated by that. So yeah. So that's kind of a lot of stuff around that.
Well, you made a comment in the midst of, you described to me kind of like these two parallel worlds that you're dealing with right now, in regards to your two sons and the relationship to kind of the reality right now in the world, because school is such a big part of their life right now. But something you said this might be a little long-winded here, and I just want to reassure you that there is no gauge or
thank you.
Putting these words into a box. So, is there anything else that is that you want to say to this?
Let me think. I suppose it's there's kind of two parts to it. It's about how I can support them, to be their best. And well, maybe it's three parts actually, as I'm saying that. It's how can I support them to be their best, and and in that allow them to be themselves, so there's something about being, free, giving them freedom, and not having them meet my expectations or my whatever my stuff is. And what was, there was a third there was a third thing of that now that I thought of. Yeah. Yes, it's kind of like allowing them. It's the support and also the allowing them to be who they are.
You've mentioned, you said kind of there's been this underlying comment that you made, and you said it and when you were relating to the word support to your children, and you said it in the previous segment too. You said in relation to my stuff.
Yeah, maybe that's the third part. Yeah, because my stuff, as you kind of reflect that back to me, it I have this sense that it's like old stuff that I've kind of worked through, maybe to a certain extent, and I'm aware of it, and then there's, I suppose, I have this feeling of being, okay, there's old stuff maybe that I see with Dara, he's the oldest, and maybe there's fear around that, and then there's also this kind of a new stuff around, okay, about how I'd really like to be, and how from what I have learned and what I have, I suppose the knowing that what I've learned about myself, and maybe how I want to embody that, and in both relationships, if that makes sense. Yeah, because I suppose when I think of the two, not separating them, but thinking about them, I suppose my stuff that's coming up would be what I see in Dara's, more so. So it's about, wanting to always give like 110%, and if you make it whatever it is the best it can be, and so that's kind of, okay, that's all good, but then the undercurrent of that is why, it's kind of, it's to, I suppose, not wanting to fail, wanting to be approved, wanting to be, I suppose, approval by the teacher, and, and I suppose I couldn't see when I look back, maybe school and college, and even work, even more particularly, putting so much effort in and so much hours, and sacrificing, other things for this drive for, I think maybe it was not to fail, maybe, or to be, I suppose, to feel good enough to be accepted in whatever the role was. And I think I thought I kind of worked through a lot of that, thinking that, I've seen that perfectionist tendency, and I worked on it, and and I've made different choices. And I often kind of joke and say, you know, I'm a recovering perfectionist,
Mm,
but
yeah.
I think like an alcoholic or whatever, maybe the tendency is always there. And and I suppose maybe that's what I'm seeing in Dara, because I can see him pushing himself in that way. Um, and it's coming from him, you know, in the sense that, you know, we're always kind of saying to him, you know, take a break, you know, take time to yourself, you know, you've done enough. And, you know, it doesn't need to be 15 pages when, you know, really all they expect is 5 pages, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that in that way, it's kind of holding up something from my past for me and thinking, oh gosh, how will I help him with this? I don't want him to have to go through all that. And I want him to value himself. And also, what's come up funnily is that the sense of guilt. You know, he keeps saying that. You know, I feel guilty. You know, even last night he said to me, you know, is it bad that I feel guilty that I've been on my phone for 10 minutes when I haven't got that project finished?
Mm,
And I'm kind of saying, I'm looking at him saying, you know, no, I said, Dara, I keep saying, you know, guilt is such a wasted emotion. It's not, you know, no guilt. There's no guilt. And, don't, you know, I'm glad he's saying that, he's able to articulate that. And, um, but yet he's still in that space of, you know, feeling guilty. So I don't want that for him. I want him to be able to, you know, you know, take time for himself, put himself first, do what he feels like that is enjoyable, and not because it's for approval or for anything else, but just because it's, you know, it feels good, and it's, you know, and I think I have come a long way on that journey myself. I really have.
mm,
So, but when I hear him say things like that, and I see him, you know, going way over, you know, on some projects, it just, I suppose, maybe frightens me a little bit and thinks, oh, you know, I don't want you to feel guilt. I don't want you to feel that. That, I suppose, then there's another part of me thinks, well, I know he has his journey as well. Yeah. And then I suppose on the opposite side, you know, with the other fella, he's the opposite in lots of ways, in the sense that he doesn't feel guilty. He never feels guilty. He feels, and he is such more a free spirit, and very much, no, I'm not doing that because I don't like to do it. You know, why, you know, why would I even think of, you know, doing a page when like a sentence will do, you know. So it's amazing I have these two extremes, you know. Um, yeah. So yeah, I think maybe it's like even with Billy, I see his no attachment to wanting to please, or, you know, do it in a certain way. He just wants to get it done and get out, you know. And that maybe is foreign to me, because that's not how I was, and maybe wish I could have been like that. And yet there's also the I suppose the worry for him that, you know, I want him to succeed, and I want him to, you know, I want to make sure that, you know, he does his best so that he isn't disadvantaged, and, you know, that he does believe he can go to college and university if that's what he wants. um yeah.
and where are you in the midst of your own stuff with all that you just said about those two?
Mm. Yeah, I think what I'm realizing is, um, a lot of stuff that I thought that I, you know, that I had become aware of all these years of, I suppose, um, personal development, personal growth, and looking inward, that definitely an awareness and shifts, I suppose, along the way, um, in terms of my own value I put on myself and my self-esteem, and um, letting go of the need to be approved of. It's not fully gone, I'd say, I suppose. And but I don't beat myself up. I think there's a lot more of being able to come along the journey with a lot more self-love and self-compassion, and um so I think, yeah, I can see that. And maybe some, I think there's also something I've always said with Billy, he's here to teach me something. And maybe it's about having the courage to let him teach me. And trust that, that, that things do work out. I do believe that, a certain, I suppose there's that kind of pull in it in two ways. Sometimes it's like I always believe that things always do work out. Things have always worked out for the best. And that's kind of the way my life. It is. It's a good life. Things are always working out, and that's how I kind of live. But yeah, maybe I don't know. With something about with maybe I haven't had that experience, because in school, okay, I was never a genius or top of the class, but I suppose I got through it. I was good enough, and yeah, it's part of me that's I look at Billy, and I see how he struggles with the work, and the understanding of it, and in the middle of it, I see my first, I suppose I feel his frustration as well. And there's a part of me is that the frustration is I don't know how to really help him to learn what works best for him, and how maybe how to be okay with his motivation being different around learning, and I do admire, in some ways, like I do admire his. I really admire. I do admire his way of being. He doesn't look to anybody for approval. He, if he doesn't like something, he says it. He doesn't say anything to tell you, to make you feel good, to say, tell you something that isn't true. He'd say it as it is. He's straight, and he does. I admire all that about him. I think he's great. Mm.
You spoke about a little bit ago. You spoke about kind of three avenues, and one of them was like supporting, and then you dove in, and then the third piece was about like tying this back into your own your own self. Some of these things that are you've talked about how you kind of recognize some of the things that you've gone through and learned. You're looking at them, and then how the younger son's kind of like your teacher in a way. Just referring back to those two parallels, and the two kids. So with all that that's been said and brought out so far,
Mm,
what would be an experience or outcome of
mm,
this?
yeah, I think it's around. And I think it's around, and I don't know. Let me just sit with that. Um, mm. What's coming to me is how can I be with them both as individuals?
Hmm.
What ways, like, what do they really need from me? How do I need to be with them? Because they're both very different. Um, yeah, so it's like, how do I want to be with them? Um, that comes in that support place as well.
Hmm.
Who do I need to be as their mother, to support them to be their best. Um,
Hmm.
and when I say their best, it's not the best in the class best. It's that they are, you know, happy in their own skin, and that they're, that they love themselves, and that they, yeah, that they just, it's that life is good for them. Um, and that so I think it's about that. It's just getting that clear for myself. How and who do I want to be with them and for them? Mm.
Yeah, there was two things that you said, and they were like so close to the same meaning, but there were two words. You said in one segment you almost repeated yourself, but it wasn't quite repeating. You said, "Who do I want to be for my sons?" And then
Mm.
right before that, you said, "Who do I need to be?"
Mm.
So it was almost
Mm.
like you repeated yourself, but there was like a difference there as
Difference.
well.
Mm. Yeah. I think the one when you repeat that back, which is good, is who do I want to be, and how do I want to be with them? I suppose that's the same thing really, but it's, I suppose, and the need is what they need from me. Um, mm, mm, mm. It's funny what's coming as I'm even just a few minutes ago was coming to me. It's something is coming to me around, all that, you know, I've been learning on this deep coaching journey as well, and I suppose my own journey up to now as well, can sometimes get a little bit boxed off in my life. For me, it's like, you know, all about me. And yeah, I think for me, and maybe this is why this is coming up as well, is that the stage of my journey myself is moving from the maybe the knowledge, the knowing, the intellectualizing, the awareness thing, and bringing that more into an embodying of all that I've learned about myself, and you know, and yeah, it's funny. It's because it's a part of the whole process that even with the DCI that, you know, I have found, I'm finding that the most challenging, it's the embodying, it's to, you know, getting out of the head and just being whatever it is. So that's newish. It's been, you know, been aware of that and trying to feel my way into that territory. And I think I want to, yeah, it's like kind of expand that out into just with them, and it's kind of like, how can I overflow that into, you know, bring all that into my relationships with them, and you know, yeah. And I was kind of aware, I was aware of that today a little bit with, I was saying I was so frazzled, and part of that was because I wasn't allowing space, and I was speeding up rather than slowing down. You know, I was trying to get my son, to Billy, you know, to, you know, okay, come on, let's go through all this stuff that has to get done, and why isn't it done? And in that, it just disconnected me from him, and yeah, and I suppose that then generates all that, you know, all thoughts and fears, and you know, all that anxiety, and oh, you know, he's all that old stuff. It's like the old patterns of, you know, what will his teacher say, you know, and you know, he'll fall behind, and you know, which when I stop and think about that, you know, that's not what's important, you know. that would be my old stuff, you know, having to please the teacher, and you know, yeah. And it's like, I'm thinking, you know, as I'm saying this, I'm feeling that you know, I want to be with him the way I am with the client, or I am with, you know, somebody on a course, or and create the space for him, and just you know, I suppose, yeah, really sense into where he's at with it all, and because I haven't really been doing that, to be honest. I've been in some ways I've been sticking my head in the sand and hoping that he's just getting on with it and everything is going okay, and that, you know, it'll be fine, and I'm not hearing anything, so maybe everything is fine. And but as I'm sitting here, you know, I'm realizing that, you know, he does need to be heard, and his frustration needs to be heard, and and accept it, and even his, you know, his, just, I suppose there's an acceptance piece as well, for me. And it's not about that he's dyslexic. I have no kind of qualms about that, but there's the acceptance pieces for me around accepting and acknowledging that he does need space, and he does need my space and time, where I'm not trying to speed him up and get him through and get the assignment in. He does deserve that, and he needs that.
One word that really stood out to me was acceptance.
Yeah, that's key. It's a big part, because it's part of it's me accepting all his emotions around it, without me trying to say, you can't call the teacher that name, and so accepting his frustrations and accepting his limitations, and but not limiting him in it, accepting his, also like accepting his it's just like what I'm trying to say is, it's like his effort, which I suppose that's the bit I'm finding it hard even to say it, because I want him to put in more effort, because I'm afraid that he feels, sometimes he feels, well, there's no point in me putting in any effort anyway, because I still won't get a great result. So there is a piece about acceptance, but there's also a piece of sticking in that's oh God, it's like, I don't want him to accept less for himself. I don't want him to not believe in himself. I don't want him to accept. I don't want him to accept limitations, because I've always said to him, and there's never been any pressure for results or grades or anything, and it's once you put effort in, that's what I've kind of always felt. Give yourself the best chance, and it doesn't matter then what score, result, or whatever. Yeah, maybe I'm just finding it hard to accept his frustrations around it at the minute, and where he's at with it, because where he's at, it's like, I don't understand it, it doesn't make any sense. The teachers aren't doing anything anyway, it's their job. And so I find that all hard to accept. But it's not that I want to accept. I want to accept. I don't know what I want to accept now that I'm saying it. I'm getting even more confused. But there is something, there is.
I invite you just to dial it back and just let whatever comes into you come in.
Yeah, actually, what's coming to me, Michael, is I don't know where, it's just like that voice comes to me. It's saying, let him take the lead. Let him lead. Mm. And maybe that's the piece that I'm sensing I need to do, but I'm finding it that difficult, because then, that's the piece that maybe brings up my old stuff. And letting him lead doesn't mean not being there to support him, not being kind of there standing behind him, not being there encouraging him, and giving him the space and the time to it's kind of like, he can lead, but if the place that he can lead from, if it's a space and a place where he feels his voice is heard, his frustrations are heard, if not understood fully, but if they're heard, and he's never been a child that takes well to being told what to do. And he is very, he does know, when I talk about knowing, he knows, himself, and he's not afraid to be himself, actually. And maybe it's letting him lead, and my role in it is just being the space for whatever he needs in that space. And being okay with what comes from that, and then it's like, kind of, even what's coming up is also a trust around that, of it's going back to, I kind of keep going, I have on my wall, on my here are the practices I have written up on the wall, and it's what's sticking and what's jumping out at me is the one, foster the emergence of what wants to happen. And there's something about that word fostering that's kind of jumping out at me. The nurturing and the fostering, without constraining, without kind of saying, okay, it has to be this way, and this is what's expected, and this is what's so it's much more of a loving space than I think the space I've been in, which has been more from that space of fear and judgment, which is more my stuff than his. Yeah, that feels different. It feels better. It feels more, again, I'm even looking up at these practices here, and it's like, gosh, we could embody these in my, take this home, take this, which makes total sense. It's, so expand this out. Yeah, I'm looking at them, and it's like they're all present there, expanding your capacity to be with the pain, and I'm just thinking back to last night when he was very frustrated and angry, and about something he hadn't done, and the teachers, and that's pain as well, and I think I was back in my old stuff, and I didn't give it the space. It was definitely in the space of, well, you just have to put up with it, and this is what has to happen, and not how I want to be. Yeah, so I'm really realizing that. Yeah, I'm realizing that, I need to choose. I want to choose how to be. And I know what feels good and what feels right. And it what it requires. And it's probably the same. It is the same with Dara as well. It's the same with, he's just in a different space, but it's the exact same of how I want to be with him and where he's at. And letting go of all the, the telling how to and what's best, and obviously coming from a place of wanting to I suppose protect them and make it easy for them and all of that, but I know also it's like that story of the butterfly, and if you help them out, it might kill them. So yeah, so it's really taking all this stuff and making it real in all my relationships, making it about who I am, not just what I do as a coach or in a working situation. And that's my journey. And the awareness is there. I think definitely the awareness is there, and the awareness of choice is there. And it's the embodying of that. Yeah. What's going to help me with that is really, it's slowing down. It's to being really present to what's important. I mean, present to what I can learn as well, actually, from them.
Well, as we drift to kind of the end of our session here and come to a close, what are some things that you would want to reiterate to yourself and walk away with?
Mm. Yeah, I suppose the question to ask myself and keep asking myself is, who do I choose to be in this moment, in this relationship? Who do I choose to be as a mother? Who do I choose to be? It doesn't even have to be as a mother, because that's just another role, but and how can I more fully embody all these wonderful practices that are for life, not just for life, not just for coaching. And I think what I want to take away as well is just slowing down and tuning in, and from a place of learning as well. And actually, the word has just come to me there now, is spiritual partners with them. Yeah, it's funny, I haven't thought of them as my spiritual partners. Yeah, so yeah, that's powerful, Michael. Thank you. Yeah, that's great.
Well, I'm going to slip away here, and I just encourage you to be with, everything that was here with you in this session. And I know that, your kids are at home and you have a lot to do and all this. I just encourage you to be there and give yourself the time and space to just be with this kind of still running through you. And I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Michael. That was super.
We will touch base soon, and I'm just going to go ahead and drift away.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.